Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Codetian again. In this video, I'm going to explain about the primitive data types in Java. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Let's begin. Data types in Java, as the name suggests, it is used for the classification of types of data. Data types can be classified into two major categories. One is primitive, which we are going to discuss in this video, and the other one is non-primitive, which we will discuss later. Now, as it is used for the types of data, what are the possible types of data that we can handle? One is numbers, and numbers also, like, it can be integers or it can be fractional numbers. Now for integers, Java has four data types: byte, short, int, and long. Please note, int is the most used data type for numbers, for integers, let's say. And for fractional numbers, double is the most used data type. Why we have four integer data types? It, these are classified for the storage capacity. Like byte can be used for smaller numbers and long can be used for very large numbers. We are going to discuss this in detail in the next slide. Similarly, for fractional numbers, we have float and double, and float is used for relatively smaller fractional numbers and double for bigger fractional numbers. The third category is boolean. Boolean has only two possible values, true or false. And the fourth category is character. It is used for any character. Like, it is a Unicode character. It stores like a Unicode character, and any character can be stored like capital A to Z, small a to Z, 0 to 9, special characters, brackets. Now let's see about the integer data types. As I said that it is used for storing integers, but why we have four categories? We have four categories because it, it depends on the storage, like how big a number you want to store, then you can decide which data type you to use. Here I've given the details like about the storage in bytes and bits. Byte is 1 byte, short is 2 bytes, int is 4, long is 8 bytes. And similarly, these have a different number of bits because 1 byte is equal to 8 bits, so you can do the calculation. And then what is the range of values that you can store in that particular data type? That can be calculated from this formula. You can see on the screen. This is the formula that you can use. Please note that you don't have to mug all these values. I have given here just for the classification. But just remember that if you want to store a very small value, like in the range of -128 to 127, you normally use byte. And then like if the value is from like -32k to 32k, you can use short. But more practically, int is the most used, and like int and long actually are the most used. So if you have a number greater than 2 billion, then you switch to long, and this solves most of the purposes. But even if you like, if there's a number greater than 9.2 billion billions, then there's a different class that we use that probably we are going to discuss later. But yeah, again, you don't have to mug all these values. Just remember, for the knowledge purpose, you can use this formula to calculate what possible values can be stored in that data type. And one more thing, we are going to see this in practical as well. Like whenever we are declaring a variable with a long type, you will suffix that with capital L or a small l, but a small l gives a bad readability, so we always use a capital L. Now let's go to the floating point numbers, floating point data types. Now floating point data types, again, these are classified into two types depending on the storage size. You can use float and double. Double is the uh, most widely used data type for fractional numbers. Again, it like these are classified on the storage type and the precisions. There's one interesting thing that you can do and probably we will also do when we are doing the practical, like dividing an int and a float numbers by 0 and 0.0 respectively, and then we'll see what happens. So let's now switch to the practical. Now let's see primitive data types in practical. Here I'll quickly create a class, say data types, and in this class I'll create a method. Now let's first start with integers. First, I'll declare a variable as number. Now, what is a variable in Java? It is used to store values. So here I've given the data type as byte, and I've given the variable name as number, and I'll store as 127 because this is the range that byte can support up to for positive number. Now let me print this number just to see that everything is working fine. So when I print this, when I run my code, it will print and it will say 127. But what happen if I increase this value to 128? Now it is outside the range of byte data type. So it starts giving this compilation error. You can see this red here. And even if you try to run the code, it will give you a compilation error, that possible loss of data. But short can support this range. So what will happen if I convert this to short? Then your compilation error is gone, and if you run this code, then it will be able to display your value. So 128 gets printed here. But short also has a limitation, and it can store only up to 32K. So let's give this as 33K. Now again, it starts giving this compilation error, and if you run, you will again see that compilation error, that possible loss of data. So this can be overcome by changing your variable to int. Again, if you change this to int, your compilation error will be gone, and you can see that your code is running fine and it can display this data. But int also has a limitation. That's why we has long. So let me add some zeros, and like after adding these many zeros, it will give compilation error again, because now also like int cannot support this range. So what we can do, we can convert this variable to type long. But if you notice, like just by converting into long, it will not resolve this compilation error, because this is what we have discussed, that whenever you are declaring variables with data type as long, you have to suffix it with small l or capital L. Now, when you give this capital L, then this your compilation error is gone, and you can see that this gets printed. So this covers the integer data types. Now let's see the fractional data types. Let me say as float number 2 and save it as 3.2. And yeah, as long numbers we suffix it with L, we have to suffix the float number with F. If you don't suffix the float number with F, it will give you compilation error. So let's add F, and here let's print this number, and your number will be printed. Now, why we use double? Again, the same reason, as we have four different types of integer data types, we have two different types of float. So this is also about the range of the values. So say float number 3, we say as 3.2, this. Now, if I print this as number 3, let's see what happens. It is printing as 3.3. So it has rounded off this number 2.9, 3.299999 to 3.3. But if I declare this same number as double, then it will be able to show you exact precision. So let me just copy this number till here and print this number. So that's the difference between float and double. It's the same number. When you are declaring it as a float, it has rounded off your number to 3.3, and it's the same number when you are declaring it as double. It has given the exact precision and it is able to print this number. Now let's see about our next category, which is boolean. So boolean is a simple one. Let's say uh, boolean flag is equal to true, and yeah, you can also give it as false as well. So when I print this flag, you can see that it will print as true. This is printed as true. Now let me show you false as well. You can print this as false as well. Yeah. Now let's see our next data type, which is char. Say char c is equal to, you can say it as a, or you can say it as 9, or this bracket anything. Let me print this. So it has printed as a, and let me give this as this curly braces, and if I run this again, it will print this curly braces. So this concludes this section in which we discussed 8 primitive data types in Java and its usage. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and do subscribe the channel. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.